and welcome to my channel. I am doing my Every Moment September piece, my 9/11 remembrance here. If you would like to grab your work, please do so and join me as I do a WiPnChat. And I will be doing, well, I'll start with freestyle, then we'll do some tags. So let me get my drills out while I do my freestyle. So yeah, grab your work. Just to, well, I did have an idea where I was going to start and now I've forgotten. Oh well, we'll get there eventually. Alright, I'll find my pieces. I did wonder if I should do this beforehand because talking and looking feels like a bit of a boy thing to do, and multitasking, and my husband says we can't multitask. So yes, I'm probably going to prove him right yet again. I should go through this probably sequentially. This is getting into the night sky. This was a custom that came about last year, and I have fond memories of my time in New York. When I was there, I really liked the little bit that I got to see. The rest of the time was, yes, it was interesting. I was there with family, and it wasn't a good time with my husband at the time, but the kids were good. I got to spend time with my family in Ireland, and yeah, I think it was the start of the end, really. Well, it wasn't the start of the end, it was just the clincher, maybe. Here we go, Z. I remember seeing oh, I've gotten lost it again. I mentioned it to Mickey and I had to go and look up the park. The park where they do the piano. There's a guy that plays the piano under the arch, and people can go and lie under it now to experience music and things like that. So if I can remember, I'll stick it in the bit that goes on the bottom. It drives me nuts that my memory, like, it's there, it's like it's at the tip of my tongue. I can see the thing, I just can't picture the name. And it's only a little park in the city. It's in Greenwich Village. And if you're all yelling at me, go for it. Put it in the comments if I haven't caught up. God. There is an M, and then there's that. So I see a G and the hourglass. Now I do this with this kind of kit up. Partly just because I can, rather than hunting and pecking within the container as I go. Where is, I'm looking for the arrow there, and a 0. I still haven't got 0. There's a 0 and a W. There we go. I think that's the majority. Note this, I think it's the old TV symbol kind of thing. The brightness, that's the one. Brightness symbol. Oh, and a triangle. Alright, and the triangle. Working on this the last occasion, I was kind of going, yeah, I don't know if I'm happy with this. It's Every Moment, and the drills just didn't seem to be behaving quite as good as I remember Every Moment drills behaving, but there was 2 drills up when I went to get this back out, and it's kind of like, oh, no, this is good. Now I'm gonna pop them all out of the way, and you'll see this some slight method to my madness. Okay. Alright, now that's happily doing that. I'll get my tags up and I'll, you know, just glance, I guess, and we'll see how we go. Alright, I have a dirty chai, which is going cold. Let me explain a dirty chai. It's a latte coffee. I have a coffee machine. It's a proper coffee machine that you have to do the coffee and then you have to steam the milk. And I threw in some Arcadia chai granules, I guess you could call it. It's flavoured sweetness. It's really, really yummy. Now I'm going to go with the 5-placer. And we'll see how we go. Alright. And this is the ampersand. I probably should have planned which one I was going to do a little bit better. Anyway, I leave the one I'm working on out. Everything else is over to the side, and that hopefully is going to keep me on track for remembering which symbol I'm doing. Okay, so that's how this wacky brain works. Alright, let me tell you a bit about my routine lately. My routine has been that I wake up in the morning and I go and check the news. Try and stick with the local state news. Excuse me, ears are not being nice to me right now. Check if we've got any new of the, you know, visual cue here. Yeah. Check if we've got any news locally to see about numbers, because that's when things are going to come pointy in our local state. So far they've been pretty good. And then I spend way too much time on Facebook than I should. Unfortunately, I'm going to start cracking down on that, I think. Because I'm kind of over the whole on my phone all the time. It's really a hard habit to break. I tried it before. I did it before. I think I had it so that I logged out, and yeah, it's just really, really tricky. Especially in this day when you kind of want to feel connected. I don't know if things will change at work. We haven't had an email or anything from the boss. He's probably taking his weekend off too, but there was a direction that we had recently that we couldn't have more than one person per 4-meter square space. Now, my office, my desk alone is 1.5 meters. It's a triangle. It's an L-shaped desk. So it's 1.5 meters. There's another half a meter of another table next to it, and then there's a walk space, and then there's my office partner's desk. Our desks are not in a space that's 8 meters square. So does that mean that I can't share my office with this girl now? I don't know. So yeah, it means that our lunch times can no longer happen the way they have. We kind of have two, let's call them shifts. They're not really shifts, it's just the way that the system kind of works. Most of us have our lunch at 1 o'clock, and the other staff, the civil servants, have their lunch about 12. They get an hour for lunch. We only get 20 minutes. Officially, we only get 20 minutes, but it's sometimes used as a bit of a learning kind of thing. You know, we might discuss stuff that's work relevant, so you're actually learning while you're there too, in an unofficial kind of capacity. So you might kind of sit there for a bit longer. There's no real pressure. Your time is really much your own. You know, if you've got work to do, you're going to leave early. If you don't have work to do, you can sit back and chill and chat with people. It's that kind of relaxed setup. But like I said, I think on one of my other videos, we had 20 people in the lunchroom on Thursday when they were just announcing the social distancing stuff, and we had 20 people in the lunchroom on Friday. So there's somewhat complacency there. Again, we still don't have a contact case in Tasmania. So I know it's a little bit different from the rest of the states, but I don't want to get that kind of, oh, we're Tasmania, we're protected kind of attitude either. It's because some people are saying the conspiracy out there is actually that the cases aren't there because they're not testing them. Whether that's true or not, I'm not actually sure. So yeah, people get the flu. I remember I got the flu when swine flu was announced, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, should I get tested? But there was no way in hell I had had contact with anyone with swine flu. It just happened that I got the flu at the same time, and I think I had just had the jab, but it was on the back, I think, of my ex also having the flu and being off work for a period. So anyway, that's kind of what I do with the news, and it's a little bit overly obsessed. So moving on, and hopefully we can leave that in the first few minutes and get stuck into a little bit of fun and getting to know me and things like that. So this is a tag that I got. I was talking with Ashley in the lead up to doing the joint live with her, and she said, what are we going to talk about? And I said, well, we could do a tag, or you could do interview questions or whatever of each other. And I kind of thought, oh, let's have a look at this website. So I went looking at kind of questions you would ask on a first date, and I went looking, and I found 3 really good sites with some really good questions. And they're not just questions for finding out about a potential partner, but they're really good questions about finding out about people. So don't think of these as having to ask a person that you're interested in, but just a friend. If you want to establish a friend, whether it be real or virtual in this kind of day and age, but get on your social media video capability and get chatting with people or get writing with people and see what gold comes out of your conversations. And I think there's been a few memes that have been going around that are kind of saying that we've been in training for this all our lives. The crafty people who are more maybe solitary, or you haven't been able to get out of the house for whatever reason, whether it's physical or mental or geographical, whatever it is that has kept you from being the extrovert social butterfly that gravitates towards these kind of things. We are crafty people who are reasonably happy with our own company and reasonably happy with the stashes of things that we gather. And we have a past, and whether or not that past is good or bad or whatever, we all have something to offer, and these questions are maybe going to make you think. They're probably going to make me think, and look, we'll see where we go. I'm not promising that I'm going to get through any more than a couple of the questions, because I might go off on tangents, and that's the beauty of, I suppose, choosing a tag and not really having an agenda. It's not about, I'm going to answer these 10 questions. It's not a maths quiz or anything like that. It's just a, let's get some pointers and see where it ends up. And to be honest, we could end up in Hawaii. Who the heck knows? All right. First question is, what do you like to do in your free time? So that was kind of where I was cutting it with the whole, I do too much on Facebook, and this is what I do when I wake up in the morning. So yeah, what do I do with my free time? Because I work, and it's still a field where I feel I'm always learning. I think my brain just farts, and I'm kind of going, I'm too frazzled to have to learn something new or maybe stay on topic. So it kind of just slows down a bit. I guess the danger with the whole social media is that it slows down too much, but I don't have free time in the morning, so that's pretty much get up, get ready to go to work, and go to work. So the free time is really in the evening. So the usual thing that I do in the evening is sit down for about an hour, catch up with the hubby, catch up with Sophie, maybe watch some TV with her, because I want to watch Bluey. Bluey is important. you know, it's a little bit of hang time. She has a feed after I come home. I might do some cleaning up around the kitchen before I grab my tea, and okay, I'm stopping. I'm just sitting. That's kind of where I go, and then my husband is starting to get us both into the routine of eating or starting to prep dinner a little bit earlier in the day. So it's kind of like 6 o'clock. It's kind of like, okay, right, get up, get tea started. Sometimes it's quick and sometimes it's a bit more complicated, but generally we're eating by 7, depending on what needs to be done. And then after that, I have been picking up my crochet and knitting, or crocheting, predominantly 2 blocks. So each block is 8 by 8, corner to corner. So it will be a grey block and it'll be the colour. So I've got a Keep Note that I use. Google Keep is an app that my husband put me onto when we met, because he's all kinds of Google. And the Keep Notes work in that you can use it like a notebook, but it can have tick boxes, and you can reorder things, and you know, it's really, really handy. And for me, I've got the 5 colours that I've chosen. So it's burgundy, blue, pink, lilac, and cerise. Burgundy, blue, purple, lilac, and cerise. That's what I've called them. And I will find out which the next colour is, because I can never remember. And because I'm not doing them in order, I'm having to look at the whole pattern, see which one might fit, and just have them so that it's very jumbled. And the only thing that's static really is the in-between grey. So that's what I do. So I grab my colour, I grab my grey, sit on the couch and can crochet there. The last couple of weeks, and I'm finding it's twinging again, so just give me a second. The last couple of weeks, I vacuumed 2 weeks ago. I don't know if I can do this, but we'll see how we go. I vacuumed 2 weeks ago, and vacuuming doesn't do my lower back any good because I don't activate the core properly. So I've gone and hurt that, and then I went for physio, and she put me on the table and she manipulated my upper back, but in doing that I was lying and extending apparently my lower back, and it's absolutely killing me. This morning was the first morning in the 2 weeks that it hasn't really hurt so badly, but it was just starting to catch. And I don't know if it's a disc or what the hell the issue is. So because I've had the lower back issue, I've been kind of sitting into the couch, putting the pillow behind my lower back and sitting into that, rather than coming across to the computer quite so much. The other thing I've been doing as well is physio, which is the exercises I've been given. Excuse me. So she's been giving me a couple of exercises to do, and yeah, she thinks it's a bit weird that I'm getting pain, but it isn't restricting the movement. So she thinks it's my body not trusting itself. Go figure with that one. So yeah, that's been interesting. And the lower back pain, because it's been sharper in pain than the upper back, I was kind of thinking, oh, I don't have any upper back pain, but no, it was just overwhelmed by the lower back. So this morning my upper back is a little bit sore. It's like, I'm not getting a break, I just want my back fixed. Anyway, so yeah, sitting on the couch does help. And there's not much movement with the corner to corner, so I am enjoying that. I received my floss for the Blackwork project that I want to give a go to, and that's going to be hopefully something I can do from the couch. I unboxed that yesterday, and recorded a floss tube, so that will be going up sometime in the future, and that is going to be keeping me busy as I go. Yeah, so there's that. There's the usual time it takes for food prep, and I get my lunches ready during the week. I get them ready on the weekend if I'm behaving myself. Yeah, so there's just that kind of thing. Everything seems to revolve around work when you work 5 days a week. It's a bit of a drag. I wish I could work less for the same money, and so I can, you know, pay for the hobbies. Yeah. It's cruel. It's cruel. I didn't have the time. No, I didn't have the money when I had the time, and now I don't have the time when I have the money. It's like I'm future-proofing for retirement. Oh, my husband wants the money. Dear. Alright. Are you more of an indoors or an outdoors person? I think I'd have to say I'm more of an indoors, only because I don't tend to go outdoors. My neighbours astound me how often they're out the back pottering around the garden, like all the damn time. Their back door is permanently open, and it's just like, but we have the air conditioning and the, you know, the heating on and all that kind of thing, and yeah, it's kind of a foreign concept to me. My mum used to do the gardening, well, Dad used to do it too, but Mum used to do the gardening when I was a kid, and you know, she'd have a mat that she knelt on, and you know, she'd be pottering around, and yeah, I'd kind of play outside when she was there, but I think I'm more of a social person. So if hubby or somebody is outside, I'll spend time hanging with them. It's more about the hanging than the actual doing. Does that make sense? Yeah, I can't really explain it any better than that. I would go and hang with my dad when he was in the garage. I would hate kind of, I don't know, it's almost like hating being alone. And it's not that I don't mind my own company, because I disappear into the world of books as well. But my husband now has come up with the idea that Saturday mornings are now blocked out. Nobody gets access to them except him. And in that process of doing this, we're going to start getting stuff done, whatever that stuff might be. So yesterday we ended up planning a bookshelf that I've been asking for since before Sophie was born. It's to go down the hallway. It's to try and lighten the load of all the stuff that's in storage downstairs. And he has got a bit kind of boggle-minded of how to start it. He has got the design. And then, look, it just didn't happen. And yeah, it just continued not to happen. So he was getting frustrated with the project not happening. And I was getting frustrated with the mess in the house. And it's just like, okay. So he's made this decision that Saturday mornings we have a go at something. So yesterday we ended up planning what we were going to do, finding out where things were going to go, and then it was a case of, you know, well, I could work, as in he could work downstairs with you know, in the carport, and do stuff, but then he'd have to pack it away. And I said, well, why not block off the gate and the visual kind of thing, so people can't see the valuables, because he was kind of thinking, you know, we're going to start getting more burgs and burglaries, because the criminals are going to find that they're not getting they're not able to use cash anymore because they've shut down cash sales. So cash use is going to be an issue, so they're going to start breaking into homes instead. So it was just to kind of, you know, block off the visuals so that they can't see what's on the property. Not that there's much, to be honest, but anyway. And we ended up getting some shade sail cloth, which is the sunshade that we use over in Australia. I don't know if you use it over in America or anywhere. But it's shade sail, so it's semi kind of opaque, lets the sun through a little bit. There's various degrees of severity of strength. And we had this flapping around the front door, and we've decided to take that down, put it on the side gate, and we've cable tied it all onto the side gate. So that was our project yesterday. But we have got a bit of a plan for downstairs, and next week we are going to be putting up shade cloth, shade sails up over the deck so that Sophie and I don't burn to a crisp. Of course, it's coming into winter, so I don't think there's much of a chance of that anyway, but it'll be up, which is the main thing. And we don't quite know what shapes will work on the deck, what lengths we've got to work with, and you know, so we've got to work all that out, and see where that kind of ends up. So that was the initial plan with that. Yeah, so quite happy being out there and tying the cable ties with him outside. And look, I used to like going for walks. He's not much of a walker because he's got, you know, permanent pain everywhere. He did indulge me when we were dating. Probably lulled me into a full sense of security. He went and walked the beach with me for, you know, an hour and a half. But it's not really his thing, going for walks, whereas going for walks was my thing. And I will probably do it when Sophie's a bit older, but it'll be our thing. Of course, I'll probably want to go on walks when we no longer have a dog who's actually going to benefit from the walks. Yeah, it's really stupid. So yeah, I do, and I do enjoy the outdoors. Dad used to take us, so we'd go for a family lunch with Dad, and part of that going for a family lunch with Dad was going for a walk as well. So he had a woods across the road from him, or we'd travel to a wood in Ireland, and we'd just go for a, you know, Sunday afternoon stroll in the woods and have a talk. And that was kind of how he did things. You know, again, it was incidental, not even incidental exercise. It wasn't about the exercise, it was about the incidental chatter when you're doing something else. It's probably the one good thing I got from his parenting. The rest was kind of like, oh, what do you want to do that for kind of attitude, but you know, this was a good thing. So yeah, the hang time in the Irish woods, yeah, I really enjoyed that. We do have woods here, or places that you can walk. They're just very different. And everything in Ireland is soggy. Today is a really kind of boggy, soggy Irish day. Everything is cold and it's damp, and well, 'cause it's not freezing, but it's cold. It's cold and it's damp, and the ground underfoot is soft and wet and that kind of thing, and it's almost like jacket weather, although it's not actually that cold. But yeah, it's the kind of thing that you would rug up for in Ireland. And yeah, go out and, you know, have a bit of a slippy walk. Or the woods in Ireland had this kind of fine gravelly kind of surface, or there'd be grass because you'd go through the fields, depending on where you were, or it might be a sheep trail that you walk on. And yeah, Dad, because he was a hill walker from way back, he knew all the funky spots to go to. It was great. Yeah, really, really good. And they've got some really, really good woods in Ireland. Really, really good woods. Like here it's like national park kind of standards, but in Ireland it was woods. And and nothing ever seemed to happen. It's not like they didn't use the trees for anything. Either that or they're just still growing. I don't know. Yeah, I think this whole thing is making me quite nostalgic for Ireland. I've got a problem if that's the case, because I don't have the funds to get there. I don't have the time on leave either, and yeah, it's a logistical nightmare, to be honest. Doing that kind of travel, and the people here and the people there, and well, yeah, okay, yeah, scary kind of thinking. Alright, who is the most fascinating person you've met? Fascinating. You probably didn't hear that, but my husband sniggered in the background. Yeah, I know, he's kind of going, obviously him. He's definitely interesting. There's probably nothing he hasn't worked at. No, he hasn't been a pig farmer. Okay, right, we've got something then. He hasn't been an astronaut. There's no way he could be an astronaut. He's too broken to be one. Fascinating person. He does captivate me. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I think I find fascinating people anywhere. I could chat with anyone, and I don't tend to go for the shitty small talk. After a while it begins to get on my nerves, actually. Yeah, so finding strange things about people, it's kind of, I stopped asking the whole, oh, what brings you here, then kind of, well, I might do that, but then I'll kind of go into something a bit different. I don't know, I end up having wacky conversations with people. Yeah, wacky conversations with people and enjoying those conversations. It's cool. Hang on a second, I'll just turn this down. Alright, what's the last book you really got into? Wow. I was going to say it's probably something quite trashy, like a Dan Brown. I love Dan Brown. He reads like a movie, and it's a fast read for me. I think it took me less than a week to read Origins, one of his newer ones. I haven't seen much of him lately. I don't know what's going on. Maybe he hasn't got any books lately. Must go and look him up. Who else do I enjoy? I do enjoy is Dee Henderson. She tends to do series where they focus on so she might have a law series, and it deals with the cop, and it deals with the lawyer, and it deals with the, you know, a couple of, or it might be the emergency workers, and it might be so the fiery, the ambo, the police officer, and, you know, something else, and this would build the series. They were Christian romance that I used to read, but yeah, I would really kind of, you know, get stuck in with that. I'm reading at the moment a book called First Wave. I can't think of the author's name. It's on my Kindle. It's about a DEA agent who is he went looking for a girl who went missing, and he's then got hooked up with the FBI, CIA, and this multi-agency thing, and the people who kidnapped and murdered the girl are now trying to stop them from investigating, I suppose. So that's my nighttime reading. And to be honest, I think I get about 3 Kindle pages in, and it's like, okay, I'm dropping my phone and I'm falling asleep kind of scenario. And it's not something I tend to pick up during the day. I do have a paper book next to my bed. That hasn't been touched either. That was something to do, I think, with an ambulance. Yeah, it starts off with there's an emergency worker and there's a girl and there's an explosion or a big car crash. There's a sniper. That was it. There's a sniper involved, and the sniper starts shooting, and then it's linked, and he's linked with her and she's linked with something else, and every time I pick it up, because it's so far in between, I'm kind of forgetting what the original bit of the story was. So I've got about halfway through that and haven't touched it probably in over a year. I'm lucky I even remember some of the storyline. But again, that's a Christian book. I kind of enjoy some of the Christian fiction. I enjoy a lot of it. The Left Behind books I loved. Are you thinking that we're in the Left Behind days? If you are familiar with that series. Are you there yet? It's funny because let's call him an adopted dad. He's not really, it was more the mum that I adopted than the dad. He was just kind of there. But he was kind of saying that somebody had prophesied over him that he was going to be here for the rapture, and he died 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I wonder what he would be making of these crazy times. He was always so optimistic. He was always so smiley and cheerful and having a laugh, and yeah, he was really cool. Yes, the Left Behind series, I actually enjoyed those. I actually enjoyed Tim LaHaye in general, but he started out a series with some other character, so it's not a Left Behind character, but it was about the Ark, and I don't know what the hell happened to that. It's just like it crashed and burned. So Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins had got together for the Left Behind books. I think Tim LaHaye was the kind of biblical fact finder behind the story that Jerry wrote. And yeah, I can't remember who he did the Ark of the Covenant kind of stuff. Not the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, Noah's Ark. I can't remember who he was doing that with, but yeah, it just seemed to stop, and it could have been a really, really good series. I'm quite interested in the whole theories with the Ark, and if it's there, where is it, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I like the whole kind of, what is it, biblical conspiracy theory kind of thing, sort of. Not really, but yeah. I do like a good, I suppose you could call it a racy read, but it's not a sexual racy read, it's just a racy, yeah, it's just the Da Vinci Code kind of fast pace, you know, stuff going on, and, you know, things take a turn, and that kind of, you know, you can't, it's not a straight path. It's what gardens should be like, not straight paths. You know, if you've ever gone to the really good gardens, apparently you're not supposed to be able to see your destination. That's the kind of theory around them. So they lead you around things, and things open up, and yeah, that's what the garden designers say make a good garden, is that you can't see where you're going. And it's the same with some of these good novels, but they also have like it's almost like a 15-minute they only need to capture you for 15 minutes, and then it's something else happens, and then, you know, they keep changing the pace and where it's at, and I think that's what makes it read like a TV show, because TV shows move through scenes and change the whole thing. So yeah, the Dan Brown kind of stuff, all except Digital Fortress, that was a little bit heavy. They all kind of played like a movie in that you've got this fast-paced thing, and I'd chew through the books. I'd go through them so fast, reading, and it just captivated me. How I actually choose a book is I will read the first chapter. If it's an author that I don't know, I'll pick up the book if I like the title or the picture or whatever, you know, if it catches my eye, and then I'll read the first chapter, paragraph. And if I like it from the first paragraph, if it catches me in the first paragraph, you've got me. One of the worst books I ever read, Love Like Hate Adore, I think was it. It was a Irish writer from Limerick. I can't think of his name. I think it was Love Like Hate Adore. Absolutely hated it. Hated picking it up each time to read it, and struggled. And yeah, I think that was the worst book I've ever written, or ever wrote. Not wrote. Gosh, brain. Read. I didn't write it. Was it Fred? It was based on his life, but yeah. He was a teacher in Limerick or something. And talking about his days of youth, and yeah, but it was a drag. I've since then decided never to do that again. If there's a book that is just not getting me, I'll just drop it and get rid of it. What are some movies you really enjoyed? You know, I can never remember the movies that I enjoy. Movies that I would go back to again and again. Ooh. The Marvel movies. I enjoy them. The Pirates of the Caribbean I really got into. Yeah, they would be some of the movies up there. What amazing adventures have I been on? Okay, I'm gonna leave that one. That actually came up in, I think, the live with Ashley, and I think I'm gonna have to do a whole whip and chat on this one. And it's pretty much the story of moving from Ireland to Tasmania. So, yes, that will be in the future. Let me just see where we're up to for recording time. Okay, cool. What pets have you had? Gee. What pets haven't I had? I'm going to leave the N, because the N is all here. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look for one more hashtag. Alright. I have had dogs, cats, gerbil, guinea pig, rabbit, horse, blue-tongued lizards, tadpoles, goldfish, other fish that were cold water. I think that's it. I've never had a hamster. I have always wanted a hamster. I don't know why, I just think they're so cute. I have had all kinds of sizes of dogs. I've had a collie mix who was awesome. I can't remember why we ever got rid of Casey. She may have been too boisterous for the boys when they were little or something. I don't know. But we ended up with a short-haired kind of... He wasn't corgi, but he was collie with short legs. And we ended up having to leave him in Ireland. We had to rehome him before we moved rather than shipping him to Australia. He was gorgeous. He was really, really cute. My favourite, well, one of my favourites, potentially my favourite, no, not my favourite. Anyway, Caleb was my favourite. Caleb was he looked like a black retriever. We got him as a pup from a farm down the road from my dad, and he started eating my kids' socks, and it was just after my childhood dog had died. So we actually had paid for insurance this time around, because I was floored by the cost of insurance for the vet to see my sick dog just before he died. Anyway. So had insurance on Caleb. Pet insurance in Ireland was pretty good. It was about $10 a month, and it actually covered pretty much anything. Now, and in Australia, it doesn't seem to cover squat. It's quite rude, actually. So yeah, we had Caleb insured, and we took him to the vet, and the vet's kind of going, I don't know what's wrong with him. And then I said, well, he's eating socks. Like, I keep on picking up the kids' socks, wholly digested, wholly swallowed in his poo. And they were little at the time, so they only had, little socks. And I was, running out of socks like nobody's business. Well, there was something that the vet had twigged from a recent visit from an Australian vet, and he went and called me, I think, a couple of days later, saying, I think I know what's wrong with him. So we were able to afford, with the insurance, the investigation needed, and it turned out he had what was called an intrahepatic shunt. And that basically meant that the vein that was supposed to be going through the liver didn't. It went around it. So the liver wasn't detoxifying him. So he was basically poisoning himself over time. And, oh yeah, he was walking into things like he was blind. It was really weird. And one of the symptoms of this was the eating. I don't know if it wasn't eating socks, but maybe it was eating socks. Anyway, the vet put 2 and 2 together, and he figured this out. So, again, because we had the insurance and we could give this a go, the surgeon was coming over from Australia, and he operated on Caleb. My sister's golden retriever donated blood for him. And we gave it a shot to see whether it would work or not. And at the time, he was doing Irish Wolfhounds and other dogs, and in Caleb's case, it didn't work. So we ended up having to let him go. But he was beautiful. He was just this doe-eyed black retriever. He was just the sweetest boy ever. I was devastated when we lost him. We only had him for maybe, I don't know, a year and a half, but he was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful dog. Stunning looking and gorgeous temperament. Yeah, really missed him. Now, the other dog I had, who was my favourite dog, was a dog called Orla. My ex had always wanted a beagle. And we went to the dog's home and found this little beagle kind of girl. And I fell in love with her completely. She was just this golden girl. We called her Orla, which, an Irish name. She used to lie on my golden retriever on his back, so he would be lying on the ground and she would be physically on top of him. I've seen a few photos of other dogs doing this. It cracked me up that she did this, but she was gorgeous. She unfortunately was killed because she got into some weed killer that was left out, and that absolutely killed me. I bawled my eyes out digging her grave. yeah, that completely gutted me, but she was beautiful. She was definitely up there with my favourites. And then if I had a favourite cat, look, my favourite cat has got to be Godric. Godric is my black boy. He's outside. He was born in my lap, and he's my baby. He's awesome. He's stunning looking. He looks like Eli, for those of you who are familiar with Wolfpack's Eli. He looks just like Eli, but he's just the bee's knees. He's just a beautiful, beautiful personality, and he gives one of the older girls, Lexi, a bit of a serve now, because she was a lot of a bitch to him, and he's giving it back to her now because he's big, and yeah, she probably doesn't like it too much, but she still kind of will use her claws with me. She'll stick her paw at the grid, and she'll hook the claws in, and she'll, you know, have a bit of a gnaw on the finger, and it's like, stop eating me. Whereas Casey has always done that, but he's always been fairly gentle, and he'll chew on the nail, not on soft tissue. She'll chew on soft tissue. So she's the kind of cat who would eat your ears off when you die. That kind of, yeah, she's that kind of cat. Yeah. But she's a tortie. No, she's not she's a calico. Calicos are different from tortoiseshells. She's the gold, whereas her two brothers are black and white, and her other brother was black. We actually called him Satan. But he had a flea allergy. Tango, our ginger, used to keep bringing in fleas. And Satan had flea allergy, so we had to let him go. Otherwise, I'd kept him, but yeah, he wasn't a happy boy. Not with the skin trouble he was having. I was going to try and do this one with the little curly cues, but I'm not seeing where they are now. Maybe there was only a couple. I might leave it. Alright, I'll leave them for a bit. Alright, star is over there. I want to kind of fill in some of the gap before I get there. Let's do the triangle. There we are. Alright. What are you kind of obsessed with these days? Obsessed. YouTube, probably. I do a variety of different videos now. I've got the colouring. I've got so much content that I either want to do or have done. It's quite obscene. Again, need more time to be able to do it. Doing good videos for you guys is definitely a thing. Doing the crafting is really good. Having the choice between crafts, the diamond painting, the cross stitch, the different diamond paintings. I've got, you know, 3 big kits on the go, because they've all got, you know, various deadlines or various projects. So I want to have even a 4th. I know I'm crazy. But this is a long-term thing. This is like one panel. I'm supposed to be doing one panel each weekend. It's going to get to September, and I'm going to have to go, oh crap, I'm weeks behind. But it is what it is. I need to be careful actually what videos I delete, because I wanted to do a time-lapse of some of these. What am I doing? The brightness sign. Okay. Yeah, but I guess it doesn't really matter if it doesn't look like it's growing before your very eyes. In the end video, it just matters that it's finished, maybe, for 9/11. Yeah, so craft kind of obsesses me, and I end up obsessing about it when I'm at work, and there just doesn't seem to be enough time in the day. Alright, where have you travelled? Alright. I am actually not that widely travelled. I'm When my kids were young, so, okay, as a kid, up until the age of 15, I had only gone to, lived in Ireland, went to Northern Ireland, went to Wales, went to England, had never been to Scotland, went to the Isle of Wight, which is a little island off the bottom of England. When I was 15, I went to Lyon in France for a month on an exchange. When I was married with young children, we went to Holland, and we went to France. And the Holland trip was like step on the shore, walk through the town of the Riepervon. If that's a town, maybe it's a street, I can't remember. I remember buying little clogs in one of the touristy shops at like 6 o'clock in the morning. It was stupid. It was a stupid time to get in and berth. Anyway, my ex was a ship reporter, writer kind of thing. So we'd always be ferry oriented. We would holiday at the north of France, so the Dal de Bretagne kind of Brittany area. Never really ventured any further south than that. We did a big trip in, well, we moved to Australia in 2000. The thing about Australia is you can't really drive off the country and get anything new culture-wise. So I have driven from Sydney. Let me think. Alright, so if this is Australia, we drove from Sydney, which is kind of here. We went inland and then we went straight down. Alright, that was one trip. So we went to Mildura. We did a cruise on the Murray River when my youngest boy was 2 or 3. Even he talks about the fact that he fell off the top deck. He mentioned it just recently. When we were talking about something else. Yeah. I have then... So we've driven from Tasmania up to the top of the state, across on the boat, and then from Melbourne all the way across the Nullarbor to Perth. I've flown to Brisbane. That's as far north as I've flown. Driven to Perth and drove back then at Christmas time back to Tasmania. Then drove back to Perth, so that was 3 ways, and then we ended up flying and shipping the car back, because in the trip where we moved back to Tasmania, we actually flew to Europe when the container sailed to Hobart. I think that's how that worked. Again, went to the same haunts, north of France, England, Ireland. Then in 2014 we had a massive trip as the family. We went from Australia into I don't think we might have gone into France. Oops, I've missed there. Anyway, we ended up driving through Europe, through Belgium, through France. I think we stayed in Paris. We went through France, through Belgium, had Belgian waffles in the town there, saw some cathedrals, and then we flew to New York for 5 days. Then we went back to Ireland. So that's probably it. My kids, particularly my youngest boy, who stayed with my ex when we split up, he has done a heap of travelling. He's gone to, I I think he was been in Yugoslavia and the Czech Republic, and yeah, he's been all sorts of places. He's actually been able to have some fantastic opportunities by staying with him in the UK and using that as a bit of a launch point, and being down to the south of France, and yeah, awesome opportunity. He's 21 next week. So for a 20-year-old, yeah, he's had some fantastic opportunities. And the kids have always been really good travellers. So from that point of view, they've, you know, they're quite reasonably well read from that point of view. But no, me, not so much. I tend to, I've been in, you know, transit KL, Kuala Lumpur, stayed in an airport hotel kind of thing, you know, saw a little bit of the city, but yeah, not much. I'm such a chicken when it comes to foreign food as well. I like to know what it is I'm eating. I'm not a big spicy food fan. And if I can't identify it, I tend to struggle, and yeah, more to my detriment than anything. Yeah. What's my favourite international food? Coincidentally. My favourite international food. Ooh. We had a restaurant in one of our local towns, and they did marsala, which was a veal dish with the creamy pasta and marsala sauce. I really enjoyed that. Ireland would do Chinese. Quite like, you'd get Chinese restaurants everywhere, but I never knew if it was real or not, because when we then moved to Australia, we'd ask for, you know, Chinese. Noodles were never included in Australia. Now this could just be a menu thing, but it was heavy on the veg. In Ireland it was not heavy on the veg, it was heavy on the meat. So I'm not sure what's authentic from a Chinese point of view. I did learn to make Indian. We had some Indian friends in our Connect group, and they would come and teach us how to make Indian food. That was kind of fun, because I realised how bloody simple it is, to be honest. And, you know, some of the tricks I think were to add sugar to the dish to get the chili to calm down a bit, and I think the coconut milk was the thing as well. That's a bit of a shell. Let me put you there. So yeah, that was certainly interesting. As I say, I don't like the spicy food quite so much. I really would make a terrible overseas traveller. Am I a morning person or a night owl? Well, I have had both. As a teenager, I could probably sleep until lunchtime. As a mum, I got up early in the morning at a few periods in my life to have a Bible study, and that ended up getting up at, you know, pre 6 o'clock in the morning, and it still wasn't early enough to get away from the kids. So in the end, I think we just ended up watching the sunrise as I was doing a Bible study. I was part of the, oh gosh, if I can think of the name, it's a massive international group, not the Bible Society, it was BSS, I think is what it was called. And they used to have weekly meetings, but they'd give you paperwork every week. So it had homework on it. So you had daily homework where you'd be reading the Bible, you'd be studying, you'd be doing all of this stuff, and answering the questions. So it was kind of, you know, read, reflect, answer, that kind of thing. So I was doing those kind of questions. So yeah, it got to the point where, you know, I'd talk about it with the kids, and that was the early morning routine. it got to the point though, because I was getting up so early in the morning, that I couldn't stay up late. So it was like 10 o'clock, I was completely beat. I wanted to watch my programs, but they were, you know, on TV way too late. It was like, you know, 11 o'clock ER would be coming on. I'm kind of going, I want to watch my show, but I'm so tired, you know, and I'd be falling asleep, and yeah, so couldn't survive both ends of the day. Got into my job, and it had rotating shifts, so we'd have morning, afternoon and night shift, or day, afternoon, night shift. And the day shift would be 7 to 4 kind of shift. The afternoon shift could be 3 to 2 in the morning, and then night shift was 11 to 8. No? Yes, 11 to 8. It was to the point where I was waking up to get the kids out to school in the morning on afternoon shift, going to work until 2 in the morning, like finishing in work at 2 in the morning if I was lucky, driving home, having a coffee, sitting on the couch and just kind of going, oh my god, and just trying to wind down after work. That had me a bit ragged. Wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but that had me working all kinds of crazy hours. And then a night shift, it was, you know, getting home at 8:30 in the morning and having to get kids to school and all of that kind of carry on. And then going home, sleeping till about 2, maybe or maybe not getting a second sleep in, depending on what the kids were doing. And then going out to work at 10:30 at night. I realised that was doing irreparable damage to me, and I didn't realise how badly I was doing until I did a cover shift where I was only doing days and avos, and no longer doing the night shift. Yeah, so that was a bit of a wake-up call. Avos being the afternoons. Yeah, so don't recommend swing shifts. If you don't have to do them, don't do them. Yeah, so I've kind of done a bit of both. Now I tend to still wake up very early in the morning, and I tend to stay up way too late, which is probably why I'm feeling so burnt out in the middle of the evening, and kind of fried. But Sophie is not going to bed when we put her down, so she ends up staying up with us, and we all go to bed at the same time, and then she manages to get a 3-hour sleep in the middle of the day, little tyke. Oops. So she gets refreshed, me not so much. But I kind of think, I just want some, I don't know, adult time, alone time, time to think. She's a really good kid though. She's chewing on a biscuit at the moment. There's the little curly Kiwi things. Where are they? There. What is your favourite restaurant? Well, that's a bit of a kind of a dumb question. But seeing as, you know, you're not local, and you wouldn't know, one of my very favourite restaurants actually was a Chinese restaurant that it did the most beautiful food. I'm a big Chinese duck fan, and it was a boned duck, so you didn't have to deal with bones. It was fillet of breast fillet. Oh, get in. I just want one. So it's a breast fillet in plum sauce. It was my very, very favourite. But what they used to do as a dessert was apple fritters and ice cream. My favourite restaurant. It closed down shortly after I'd got married. And yeah, absolutely devastated. It was such a lovely, lovely place to go. Favourite local restaurant? Well, I suppose it would need to be, to some extent, a kind of pub joint that is called Jack Green's. It's a burger bar. So you've got craft beers and you've got kind of gourmet style burgers. And they can either do what's called sliders, which are the little ones, or they do big size burgers, and they're pretty yummy. And it was a place that I used to hang out quite a bit with my kids. Became very popular with my eldest, who was into the craft beers. It was a bit of a hangout. They've got a different hangout now that they go to. But the burgers are always pretty good from this, and it was a reasonably priced restaurant. I guess the restaurant that you can afford to go to time and time again is the place that is your favourite. And this was certainly within budget. You know, I would like to be able to try a couple of other places, but we have found, my husband and I have found that eating out we can usually replicate just as good, and it doesn't cost half as much. And I think the only reason we can replicate half as good is because he's pretty fastidious in his methods, and he just goes that extra mile that you know ordinarily might not bother. That's that one. How many siblings do I have? Okay, well, I have 4 siblings, but I have 5 steps. So Dad and Una married when I was 17, and the 11-year gap between me and my sister was filled with her 5 kids. So her youngest was a year older than me, and then they were every 2 years between them. It's funny because my middle stepbrother has been putting some videos up on Facebook of him singing songs. Their whole family is quite artsy, creative, theatrical kind of ilk, and even the kids are just as arty. I was watching a video that had been put up yesterday with the niece, and her sister was also in it, and yeah, I've always kind of known them to be artsy. The kids never really mingled, my kids and their kids. I think Una just kind of kept that, you know, degree of separation between the grandchildren for some reason. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, they are a very, very artsy, creative, sing-along kind of family. Una was into the choirs, and the kids followed in that creativity in the most part. So yeah, the songs have been really kind of cool. Although, one of the songs yesterday was by Rufus Wainwright, and it sounded all kinds of discordant. It was actually quite hideous, and I know it wasn't my stepbrother, it was the song. But oh God, it was terrible. Yeah, but watching the video with the girls was really kind of cool. It was a short piece that one of the friends had come up with, and yeah, it was really quite cool how it was filmed and everything. From, you know, these are young, well, they're probably older teenagers rather than young teenagers, but yeah, it was really, really cool. So yeah, they're a very, very creative family. So there was 4 boys and 1 girl in the steps, and I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and they alternate. So my eldest is a brother. Alright. What would be your dream job? I actually don't know. Paid to do a hobby, I think. Paid to do YouTube? I don't know. Paid to do something I loved. I think I'm just feeling really jaded in my work. I need a holiday. I need my leave in May not to be cancelled because of this whole crap, because that's been threatened that rec leave gets cancelled depending on how many people are falling over at any particular time. I don't want to have to take time off for getting sick because I'm going to be sick, and if it's sick with the flu, I'm going to feel like rat shit, and I don't want that. So not really wanting that kind of thing. The time at home, sure, I could deal with 2 weeks of isolation. That's not a problem if I had come into contact, but I don't want to be off sick with it. And I didn't take any time off sick with my back. So yeah, like I said, I'm jaded. Every time I sit in my office chair and then go to stand up, my back kind of screams at me, and I'm walking down the corridor like I'm pregnant, you know, and I'm just constantly in this world of hurt, and then it's trying to concentrate on top of that. And now it's even, I suppose, more crucial because I just don't know what's happening with future dates and things like that. And I've got people kind of ringing me saying, hey, look, we need to organise this, and I'm kind of going, well, I don't know, things are changing on a daily basis here, so we can't kind of really foretell what's going to happen. So yeah, it's all a bit too tiring now. So yeah, I'd like a break from that. Whether I could handle doing the YouTube thing on a permanent basis, I probably could. Yeah. But I think I just need a break. It's not that I don't like my job, I think I just need a break. I just need a holiday from it. And to switch off my emails and not even get them while I'm at home. Because that's the other thing. You're on leave and you still get emails, and it's like, nope. Yeah, even on a day off, you know, I'll respond to emails kind of, you know, hey, where's the file? And it's like, yeah. Alright. What would you do if you had enough money to not need a job? I'm kind of doing it. What would I do if I had enough money to not need a job? Okay, so if I had regular income, I would love to travel. I would, well, no, not now I wouldn't, but Australia is so big. Okay, let's get some perspective here. So the size of Australia, you only ever see it in a single map. You don't see the states, you know, whereas, you know, you look at a map of Europe and you kind of see, oh, there's Italy or there's France, and that's all you see. Okay, the size of Australia is pretty much the whole of Europe, or pretty much the whole of North America. Okay, it's huge. The thing is, it's Australian from coast to coast. It's not like Europe where you've got France and Germany and Belgium and Italy and Spain, and each culture is so completely diverse. It's unreal. Australia is just freaking Australia. Okay, there are subtle differences. There really are. But it pretty much is.
G'day mate versus how are you?
Yeah, my husband just said it's g'day mate versus how are you. he'd noticed the subtleties. Look, to be honest, I probably noticed the subtleties now that I've been here for so long as well. But Australia is Australia. It all speaks English. It all uses the same currency. It's really good from that point of view. There are a lot of pluses about it. But you don't have those cultural nuances that you get when you're traveling from France into Germany, into Belgium, and you've got, you know, all these people who speak different languages and they all speak English, and it's just, they're just incredible. So there's a lack of diversity here, but it's really, really subtle, the changes in some ways. So I'd love to go outback, and I'd love to go outback with somebody who actually has a freaking clue of how to do it, or be properly kitted up to do it. Like when I was here and we were traveling before, I was with my ex. My ex is Irish. He's not was Irish. He is Irish. So he didn't have a clue how to do outback. We did consider, when we were driving to the Nullarbor once, was to go up to Kalgoorlie from an inland dirt road, and we were trying to figure out how we would actually do that. So tanks of fuel and things like that, and it was described as having dirt roads. And eventually we kind of thought, you know what, we don't have a clue. They were talking about having emergency fuel stops in an oil drum, you know, along the route, and we didn't have the extra fuel tank. We didn't have the extra anything. We weren't kitted out. We didn't have a freaking clue, and we didn't have what we have now, which is EPIRBs, which are the emergency beacons that if you're going to travel in the outback you really need, and you know, things to keep you safe while you're traveling remotely. So yes, I would love to travel Australia, and I would do it in a heartbeat, but I would need to know that I had the income to keep me going while I was going. So yeah, I would do it in a kind of motorhome kind of thing. I think I'd just kind of take off, you know, and just go. If I didn't have money to worry about, I could, you know, you wouldn't be worried about income, so you could make income as you kind of go along. I would love not just to go to the outback towns. I would love to go and stay on some of the remote farms, you know, and shearing stations, that kind of thing, or cattle stations. I'd love to do that. Another thing that I would love to do would be go stateside. Now look, I'm 47 now, my back is shot. As much as I'd love to do the States on horseback, my body just couldn't take it now, I don't think, unfortunately. But my dream would be to motorbike across the States. I would motorbike across Australia as well. Wouldn't necessarily need to do a motorhome, but if I'm travelling that light, I'm not going to have any hobbies to keep me going. So yeah, a bit different. So yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd probably buy a motorbike and go to the mainland and travel, that kind of thing. Definitely. I really want to get a motorbike again. I would get a cruiser rather than a tourer. I'd get something I can manage with my legs rather than any muscles, and do that. Can't do any of that with Sophie. She needs to be 8 to be on a motorbike. Otherwise she's got to be in a sidecar. So yeah, there's that one. Right. Who is your favourite author? Well, I kind of already touched on that. When I was a teenager, I got into an author called D.E. Stevenson. Now, D.E. Stevenson, she was an author from the 70s, 80s, I think. She had a series of books. Oops, I've gone and missed. There. She had a series of books, but I used to love her books. She was awesome. yeah, really, really enjoyed Dee Stevenson. She did all kinds of English setting, village. It might be like a doctor kind of thing. You know, they were just people. They were just family lives. Catherine Cookson was another one I used to devour books on. Patricia Cornell, used to love her Scarpetta books. There were quite a few Christian authors. T. Henderson. She might be the book that's actually on my bedside locker at the moment. Loved T. Henderson books. Just they were light. They were just good, wholesome reads, and they were, you know, nothing too heavy, nothing too serious, nothing too psychological thriller or anything. Just nice. Just a nice read. Yeah. Says a few. Did get into Virginia Andrews when I was a teenager. Got into Stephen King when I was a teenager. Would not read a Stephen King now if you gave them to me for free. Got completely freaked out by a book called The Pariah. Yeah, that's still, the idea of that one gives me chills. I can't even remember what the damn book was about. I think it was this thing that was coming and killing people, but yeah. Not good. Not good. Don't like Stephen King. But I do like Dan Brown as well. Alright, what was the last show I binge watched? Doctor Who? No, I didn't binge watch that because I was waiting for each bloody episode. I actually had them programmed into my phone to watch the episode the day it released. So it came out here on ABC iView, and at 7 o'clock in the morning, of course I was working, so I had to watch it that night. So I had it programmed into my phone, Doctor Who. Binge watched Outlander, The Outpost, Star Trek. I actually recently binge watched all of the Star Trek series. So watched The Next Generation from start to finish. Something went wrong with oh god, what's the one with Janeway? Something went wrong with Voyager and never quite got back into it properly, or something went a bit hinky with that one. Or maybe it was just the beginning. We had a couple of missed episodes and had to just ignore them and move on and just keep going with the rest. Currently binge watching The Orville. I used to binge watch any of the medical things, so ER, Grey's Anatomy. I love all of those. My husband not so much, and kind of as a result he won't get them for me, which is so mean. But yeah, he's really mean. So I don't have any of that kind of light, frivolous. I used to watch House. Yeah, all of those kind of things. And it got to the point, to be honest, with House, you could actually do a street armchair diagnosis. Yeah, they were that predictable. CSI, NCIS, all of those kind of crap shows. You did all of those. Harry Potter, I have watched the movies in like sequence in rapid succession. So I think I had one day when I watched 3 or 4 of the movies in one day because it was just playing. You know, there's that kind of thing will happen. Yeah. Alright. What TV series do I keep coming back to and rewatching? Well, you kind of got that answer too. Star Trek, I think. Doctor Who, definitely. There's so much that you can pick up from one episode of Doctor Who that you've missed the previous time. I'll go back and watch back to Christopher Eccleston's days. I binge watched him recently, and now I'm up to David Tennant, and I think I've forgotten to download it, or I've forgotten to watch it or something. the discs are downstairs, but we don't actually have a DVD player to convert them on. My husband needs to do that somewhere. He's got a drive somewhere that he can put them onto the hard drive. Alright, what hobbies would you like to get into if you had the time and the money? These are getting repetitive now. Yeah, I'm doing it. And very pleased to be getting into it. If there was an Olympic for everyday activities, what activity would you have a good chance at winning a medal in? Watching Facebook? I don't know. I would have said reading once upon a time. I think in the days before I had a decent mobile phone, it would have been reading. I got a mobile phone and it all ended after that. And I pooed the idea of an e-reader until I was desperate as all hell to get my hands on the new Dan Brown, and I read Origins, I think it might have been, or the one before Origins, can't remember now, and I read it on Kindle and got sucked into reading ebooks from there, because the library didn't have it in. That's where I used to get all my new books from, and it was like, I'm not going to wait, so I just bought it, even though it was, you know, a ridiculous amount of money for an ebook. Yeah. So now I actually am part of what's called BookBub, and I get emailed every single day with books of a genre that I've already picked. So my books would be the trashy kind of whodunits. I think they're called cozy murders, cozy mysteries. It's a type of genre, I think, and in the cozy mysteries, which I haven't actually read any of, you get, you know, 1 or 2 a day. There might be some new kids books that come out. These books that you're kind of pitched, for want of a better term, are typically 99 cents, $1.99, $4.99, or free. And I only ever download the free. I think on 2 occasions I might have paid for a book because the blurb was that good. But in general, I'm getting 2 books every day, sometimes 4 in that category. So I've got, so I've got the cozy mysteries as kids, as crime, and there might be Christian romance or Christian in subject matter. Some of it is novel, and some of it is kind of not really testimony, but there might be kind of know-how books, kind of teaching, kind of theological stuff. Oh, that would be the word. I have a stray. I have a very fluoro stray. So yeah, I've got absolutely no shortage of books. So BookBub, if you're interested, you sign up. You pick the categories of books that you like. So if you're into, well, whatever your genre is, you pick your genre and you will be emailed, and you then can choose your sources. So your source could be either Amazon or Google. I think there's a couple of other sources as well. And you set up your email address, and it will send your books to your Kindle or whatever your device might be. And yeah, you get a regular source of free, cheap books. I kind of figured that I'd have to say no to the 99-cent kind of things, because they would soon add up and it would be like $20 in, you know, next to no time, and it was sort of like, no, not doing that. So that was just a decision I made for myself. So I try not to even read the blurb because I don't want to be tempted. So that's my reasoning behind the not paying for that. But like I say, you get free books offered as well in this thing. Perfect vacation, again, kind of touching on similar things, traveling. I want to see things. I'd want to get a good camera, and I'd want to travel and see things and take pictures. Yeah, that's what I'd do. Alright. Among your friends, what are you best known for? I don't know. I would almost go to say I don't have friends. I don't socialise anymore. I got burnt in the marriage breakup. I pulled back from everyone, and I tend to enjoy my husband's company. And not that I was going to say, not that I necessarily feel like my friends betrayed me, but I felt like they weren't there for me because I pulled back. Because I stopped contacting them, kind of thing. They didn't contact me. It's that kind of scenario. Stopped going to church, didn't get the contact. And that's not a dig at them necessarily, it's just how it is. And a lot of people find that. You stop going to one church, you stop hearing from those people. It's almost like you are only the friend because they happen to see you, not because they actually give a shit. If that makes sense. And they were very much mutual family friends. My ex was much better at keeping in touch with people than I ever was. And I kind of let him as a result, and didn't feel that I missed them. Like, you know, I haven't been in touch with my dad except by email for ages, and to a certain extent don't miss it, but, you know, do, but then, you know, time zones gets in the way and things as well. Yeah. But I haven't felt like I'm lacking for lack of contact, although current climate, it's a little bit different, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, so, yeah, I don't know what to be known for. Cooking, maybe. I can cater for 50 people at a drop of a hat. What music artist do you never get tired of? My husband said Metallica. No, I don't like Metallica. Not like he does. I never get tired of Hillsong. Actually, I do. There's a couple of songs that I don't like, but they're a group and they change and they morph because it's, you know, church people moving on and stuff. So that's probably a little bit too loose. I like Robert Miles, and I will listen to Children repeatedly from the point of view that I would switch on the stereo very, very loud until it's to the point where I can't even hear my own thinking, and switch the brain off. Who else? I mean, I like music, but yeah, mostly if I'm gonna default to anything, it's probably Hillsong. I think because they've got such a range of different songs, that you're not kind of stuck with it always sounding the same. I listened to Bono singing, excuse me, itchy nose or runny nose or something. I listened to Bono singing the other day and I thought, oh crap, you can't sing for shit, mate. But yet everybody goes crazy over you too. Yeah, not really my thing. My ex would play Queen to death, to the point now where I don't want to hear it. I worked in a supermarket where they played the Beatles to death. If I hear another Beatles song, I'll probably strangle someone. Yeah, just so over the repetitive play. And this is the other thing, I haven't listened to a radio station in forever. My hubby tends to just put his Bluetooth music on, so we get a mix of all kinds of stuff that he has. But the radio, it overplays songs all the damn time. So you'd hear the same song 5 times in one day. Yeah, that used to drive me nuts. And there's some good songs out there, but if you play it to death, you just don't want to hear it again. Yeah. What are some accomplishments that I'm really proud of? Really proud. I'm proud that I was able to have my kids without pain relief. I am very proud that I got into the job I'm in. That was a huge achievement. I'm also proud that I made a home for myself and my children in Tasmania. Not necessarily against the odds, but despite of, maybe. I think they've made it home. I even think my boy up on the mainland would still, to some extent, think of this as home if he was to have kids. May consider coming down, except for the work that he's in. Would maybe restrict that because it's such a little workforce down here in his industry. He's a naval architect, so we just don't have the shipbuilders down here. So I hope he makes home wherever he kind of falls. But the others are all here again, which is nice. What are some of the teeth? What are some obscure things that you are or were really into? Okay, I don't know how obscure it is, but not many people are in this. It's geocaching. Geocaching is treasure hunting. Oh my goodness, itchy. It's treasure hunting with GPS. So I downloaded a phone app years ago when I heard about it from a friend, I think on Facebook or somewhere, I don't know. And it's puzzles almost. Particularly some of the tricky ones can be really puzzles. Like I did one, and we were sent to one location by this series of simple puzzles, okay? And then you had to, it was a multi, so you went to one place and you got a clue, and then you went to another and you might have got another clue to the next place. And eventually we ended up getting a prize of, I think it was a golf ball, because it was done on an old golf course, you know, so that kind of thing was fun. But then that led to another series called Men in Black, and this was all kinds of fun in that it was conspiracy theory and it used computers and it talked about octals. Anyway, you had to get the first part of the puzzle from one location, so you got a CD, and on the CD was recordings, and you then had to translate your recordings. So there was things in octal, there was this video that played and the woman was speaking backwards, so you needed to get technology on the internet that could reverse what she was saying, and you had to figure all this out. And then it was talking with binary, and so each of these clues to the latitude and longitude coordinate would, you know, take some nutting out, and then I got stuck, so I called in help, and we got through another couple of the puzzles, and then he got stuck as well, and we ended up having to call in his geek friend who was into computers. And bloody hell, we unleashed a demon. This guy got into it. He translated the final part of the clue. We all went together and we got the final puzzle, and this creator was one who would give you a prize at the end of it. So it was really cool. Like, you went and you actually physically got something. It was all kinds of cool. So we went and we collected this cash, and as I said, we unleashed a demon with Budgie, and he went absolutely nuts. He went with his family and he found cash after cash after cash, or cache, depending on your pronunciation. And he would race to be the first to find, because if you were first to find, you might get a gift as well, and you might get what's called a path tag, which is a little dime size coin, or a little smaller than a dime. He started creating caches, and it was really, really cool. We started having get-togethers with this, so the people who would do the caches, so you'd see all these names. You know how we've got YouTube handles? Well, you'd see all these geocaching names, and you'd start to get to know people on the comments, and you might privately message them and saying, hey, I'm stuck, where is it? And that kind of thing, so you'd start to support each other. So we started having, you know, the get-togethers, where we'd meet and greet and get to know the faces behind the names and all of this kind of stuff. So it was really, really cool. I haven't done that for ages, haven't really got into the community. I know it's there because if I travel, I will go to my geocaching app, or I'll actually go to the geocaching app before I travel, and I will scout out if there's any puzzles that I can solve beforehand, before I get there, because the geocaching enabled me to find a piece of the Berlin Wall in New York. I got a geocache in the corner of the courtyard at the Louvre Museum. I got a geocache in London. It wasn't Piccadilly. We weren't in Piccadilly. It was in, I think it was somewhere around the circuses in London. And we were on that trip. We went to the Hamleys toy store, and it was part of that trip that I got a geocache in the middle of London. And so I got my Paris one and my New York one. I got a couple in New York. Went to Central Park. This is why I love New York, I suppose, because I went to Central Park in the middle of the afternoon. The snow was melting. It was slushy and wet everywhere. I got absolutely soaked with my youngest boy trying to find this damn geocache on Alice in Wonderland's statue. Couldn't find one, digging in the snow. You know, so I've got those kind of memories of chasing around Central Park trying to find these geocaches while the rest of the family was back at the hotel or back at Apple Store or whatever the hell they were all doing. We were doing different things. So yeah, fond memories of that. You know, memories of the museum and things like that when we went to, you know, where they do the night in the museum, that one. Yeah. So geocaching has done that for me. It's given me memories of the cities, and it takes you to places that as a tourist you would not otherwise see. So the Berlin Wall, for instance, was kind of near Broadway, but the other direction, so east of where Times Square is. And it was kind of between our hotel and Times Square. We were up near the one with the shiny top. Can't think of it now. But we were near Central Station and then Times Square, and if you went down one of these streets anyway, you could get to this cache. And so you've got the street frontage here, and the building was, there was a walkway through here, and the building was set back a bit. Well, on this walkway is this block of cement, And if you didn't know it was the Berlin Wall, you would just have gone, it's just a piece of cement wall next to the wall. But the geocaching, the person who hosted this found out what it was, put a geocache there and made it important. You know, little things like that, we went down to that park, was it the movie with Will Smith, and he's in the house with the zombies attacking, and I can't think what it is. Anyway, that park there's a geocache down around there, down in Greenwich Village, and you know, it would give me something to do. It gave me something that was out of my head to go and hunt. Even locally, there's a geocache in one of the reserves. Everything is kind of a reserve here. It's all kind of protected, kind of parklandy or trees or whatever. Up in this park, it actually sends you into the middle of nothing. Like, it really is into the middle of nothing. There is a 60-litre container, so it's a big plastic tub, and it's full of books. And if you like, you can go with a book and swap it with a book that's already in there. You know, it's that kind of thing. And it's going hunting in the bush for, you know, things. It's going to the zoo and it's finding, you know, and it, you know, the prize at the end with what's called Ground Zero, the cache itself, isn't always important. It's the process of getting there. So up near the international tennis courts that we've got, there was a geocache, and geez, this thing frazzled my brain. I think I went back there 3 times, and it turned out to be what's called a buffalo or a bison, which is a little metal tube in a particular colour, so it kind of camouflaged in. It was hanging on a fishing line on a thread in the tree at eye level, and I had to call a friend who I knew had found it and say, I'm here, where the hell is it? And he basically talked me through where the bloody thing was, and it was literally right in front of my nose, kid you not, and I couldn't see the stupid thing. It's that kind of mental challenge that I really, really loved about geocaching. There are some puzzles that I have not got a clue of. You need to be sometimes in a really good mental space to be able to do it. Some of them are word puzzles, some of them are simple, some of them are haikus that you've got to, you know, decipher, and it's so clever how the people have come up with the puzzles in some cases. It really is. And yeah, then to get to meet them, or after you've done the cache, you actually leave a note online and you tell the cache owner, you kind of review, I suppose, how you went. So you can kind of share how it was for you, and I used to love doing that. I used to love when people found my caches that I hid and had fun doing it, and would tell me their story as well. It was really, really cool. So yeah, geocaching is a little bit where I kind of geek out. There was one actually I remember in the early days. We went to park the car at wherever you were told to park, and then you walk down this walk that I'd never been on, and it was a bit of a zigzag trail to get down to the lower road from an upper road in a couple of suburbs. And halfway down there was waypoint 1, they call them, the waypoints. And at waypoint 1 there was a phone, and you actually had to phone a phone number that you got at waypoint 1 and listen to the recording, and the recording would give you the clue to waypoint 2. It was that kind of nuttiness. And you were basically then just bushwalking with a couple of puzzles in the middle. So it was the incidental kind of walk that you would do, and you know, you'd be following on your phone with the GPS. Now it got to a point where I could put the phone down and kind of go, okay, we've got to go 300 meters here, and then, you know, so you kind of get an idea of what 300 meters were. So you put your phone away, walk roughly the distance that you think, and then you pick your phone up and you kind of go, okay, now where is it? There was an in-joke in what was called the bee dance as you were trying to get the GPS to log on, and I'm talking like 7-8 years ago here. So GPSs weren't necessarily as good back then. We didn't have as much satellites in the air and stuff. And you would do this bee dance to try and triangulate where Ground Zero was, because it wasn't always obvious. If I got stuck, I would bring my now 20-year-old along, because he had the eyes that you could kind of see where it was going to be. Sometimes you could kind of go, oh, it's going to be in that pile of rocks, or it's going to be in that pile of trees, or it's going to be in this location. Sometimes it was just such a good hide that you could not find it. There's one actually up near where I used to live on the mountain, and I went up with my husband and the kids and could not find it. And people have found it since, going, oh yeah, that was super easy. And I'm kind of thinking, what the hell? What am I missing? I was looking on the ground, I was looking in the trees, missed it completely. So again, I've got to go back if I want to get that geocache, but it's not something I've consistently done. When I got into it, I think my middle boy was, he would have been 8, 9, 10. It was great for kids, really, really great for kids. So if you've got young kids and you've got a mobile phone, you don't have to have a mobile phone. You could actually do it old school with just a GPS and paper. So you print out the puzzles or the clues. They're not all puzzles, but you print out the how you get there, and you might print out the hint of what you might be looking for. So it might say, look in the tree. So you don't always want to look at the hint if you don't want a clue. Yeah, geocaching. Yeah, that was my thing. Alright, look, I have a great big section of this to go. It's been 2 hours. I'm going to let you go. I will potentially put a picture in of this section finished, but yeah, there is the night sky. This is a bit bright in the night sky, or early morning sky. No, it'll be sunset because it's looking west. So yeah, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed me answering some of the questions and getting to know me a bit better, and yeah, taking your mind off the drudge of days. And yes, dirty chai. So it's a shot of coffee and a tablespoon of chai sweetener, kind of chai mix. It's Arcadia if you wanted to know the brand. Yeah, click like, click subscribe, ring the bell. YouTube was doing a weird thing recently where you couldn't see scheduled lives, and they weren't coming up in the subscription feed, so keep an eye on things like that. Yeah, so I will see you around on the tubes, and look forward to seeing you back again. Alright, bye for now.